Can we survive without pantomime? Hello, welcome to another episode of Mark and Pete Live. I'm Pete the clergyman. With me, as ever, is Mark the businessman. So then, Mark, what's this all about? Surely we can't be losing pantomime season.
Oh, yes, we can.
Oh,
Oh, no, we
no,
can't.
we can't.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes, British pantomime. Well, the cultural season is upon us. And it's that moment when we all are entertained by some strange stories with people in costumes and many other things. Yes, theatres rely on them quite significantly. And in fact, it's a big revenue earner. Now, as we all know, that we are starting to get concerns about COVID-19, and many people are concerned that actually theatres may actually have to close down. But there is something more significant about this because, in my opinion, a pantomime isn't just there for entertainment. Ironically, it's also about education. Now, you might think, what? Well, how could that possibly be? It's a cultural event. That's the key to it. But maybe the government has a different view. Perhaps, maybe my thought is around it's just all one big pantomime. A pantomime at Christmas time is a stage for dazzling dames in dresses, some sublime as songs do rhyme with lots of theatre excesses. Amid grimy slime and a cheeky chime is where the audience obsesses. In the light of lime comes the crime as the story soon progresses. The paradigm, with rapid climb, comes where the culprit then confesses. They're in their prime, with silly mime, and why Parliament has successes. Yes, so the biggest pantomime on earth is, of course, the British Parliament, and
Yes.
maybe Boris Johnson being the villain. But
Or
maybe,
the pantomime dame. Who knows?
exactly, Clergyman Pete, I couldn't
Yes.
resist it. But what is your thought on the old traditional pantomime?
Well, the Bible says, Proverbs 15, verse 13, a glad heart makes a cheerful face, but by sorrow of heart, the spirit is crushed. And I think we're, of course, big fans of pantomime here on the Mark and Pete show. And it's a cultural tradition that's grown up over time. I think that's important to note. You know, it's part of British tradition. We don't want to be without it because it's part of who we are. You know, it
Yeah.
started, I guess, as we know it now, late 19th century was and early 20th century. You know, sort of part of the musical tradition, but it was quickly transformed into more of a child focused fun event, and so for well over 100 years, we've had pantomime as being a part of the build up to Christmas, part of the winter festival, if you like,
Mm,
that cheers us up in those dark months. And all those aspects, the cultural aspect and the fact that we need cheering up, just as it says in that Bible verse, I think means that we really shouldn't be going without it. We don't want to be going out without it for another year. We need to have our pantomimes. We need to have fun times back.
we
And
do.
yeah, and I mean, no one's talking about being unsafe about it. We're talking about responsibly having the events on and being able to, enjoy ourselves, be taken out of ourselves by some silly slapstick jokes.
Exactly. Yes. Well, not
Mm.
only that, I mean, I must admit, I'm going to take you all back, folks, about 100 years. When I was a
Yeah.
young lad,
Oh
I used
yes.
to enjoy, I
Yes.
used to enjoy
Yes,
the
that one.
pantomimes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I did. And what I liked about it was not just the spectacle; it was the stories. It was the fact that the Jack and the Beanstalk, the Cinderella stories, and many others. And what I thought was interesting is I thought, wow, this is a fantastic world that we're living in. And I suddenly realized, yes, society is a pantomime. But what's interesting is statistics show that older people are less likely to attend, with 6% of over 65s rating their chances at least 8 out of 10, compared with 26% of those aged between 16 and 34. Now, of course, if you have a family, it's more likely that you would want to take your children along, unless, of course, you've got some strange penchant for
Mhm.
just going to all of these pantomimes just to be entertained, which I would thoroughly recommend, folks. But I'm
Yeah.
going to come in from a business perspective. Yes, let's do so. Why not? Because I think that what's interesting is many theatres rely on this season. Now, the idea behind this is that actors, productions organizations, and of course theatres themselves see the revenue spike at this particular point. It also goes through to the new year as well. So pantomime season typically starts from sort of November right the way through to January. And of course, if you take that away or you stifle it, the revenues will be lost. And of course, a lot of theatres can't survive. Or more importantly, production houses can't survive. And actors have been hit very, very hard, as we've seen in the last year and a half. So for me, it's not just about, obviously, that some people may or may not like pantomime. It's the fact from a business perspective, this is a big earner, particularly in the West End of London. So there are many theatres, of course, throughout the United Kingdom who do need this season. So Clergyman Pete, I know that that's not a reason alone to keep them open, with some people's concern of COVID-19, but surely we're at a point where we now need to think differently about how we engage these type of venues.
Yes, the point is here is I want to emphasize is a question of balance of risk. Of course, there is a risk. There is always a risk, though, and it's a question of viewing this in balance. You can take measures to reduce the risk of transmission of COVID, and other diseases. I guess, just thinking more generally, you can make sure that you take steps to reduce the risk, but you also think of what are the risks of not having it on, of stoking up fear. Fear alone causes a lot of deaths. Fear and isolation, being stuck at home all the time, causes many deaths. Suicide rates are spiraling. So it's not that I don't think there's a risk, as you've been saying. If you've got new variants of a disease, there's going to be risks, but you need to take a balanced approach. What are the risks? What are the benefits? A risk-benefit analysis really needs to be done, and I really hope that is done, and that we see pantomimes open with measures taken to reduce risk, but with people being encouraged to attend. If we keep on not having this sort of thing open in Britain, which is I think that's part of our culture, then people are going to be spiraling downwards into depression, and we as a nation are not going to be able to bounce back from it. I mean, we've been referencing people who aren't used to the British pantomime, may not have got it. There's a particular thing that is done within the pantomime, where one of the characters addresses the audience and asks them a question, and then says, "Oh no, he isn't," and they say, "Oh yes, he is," and they have an argument with the with the audience, and that sort of stupid, silly call out and response builds up the collective audience. It's people.
It's the audience interaction.
Yeah, it's the audience interaction that makes it. And that's not the only thing that happens. That's just one thing we were referencing, which involves the audience in what's going on. And without this sort of thing happening, we're losing out on culture. It's too much to lose, I would say. So it's worth thinking creatively, thinking of steps to make sure that these events happen safely. We don't want to lose our pantomimes again this year.
No. So, Mr. Johnson, we have called out and thrown down our gauntlet. Yes. Please allow our pantomimes to continue. Yes, that's the message. But we don't just take our word for it. Let's hear the British public. What do they think? We'd love to hear from them.
Yes, we love to hear from you in the comments below if you're watching the video version on YouTube or Rumble, or if you're on the podcast version. You can leave comments there as well. Go to our website, markandpete.com, and leave a comment there. We, as Mark says, love to hear from you. But I guess that's all from us here for this week. Catch you again later. And remember, life's a pantomime, so you might as well enjoy it. Bye for now.